We are the flag bearers of the innovations of the past, the champions of what is to come. This is the gathering place, the proving ground, where hands-on experience separates reality from rumor. This is a pilgrimage site for all those who thrive on the business of consumer technologies. See what's next.
Ladies and gentlemen, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Electronics Association, Gary Shapiro.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2014 International CES Keynote Series. Cisco is the worldwide leader in networking that transforms how people connect, communicate, and collaborate. And we're so pleased to be joined by John Chambers, Chairman and CEO of Cisco. You know, John has built his entire career on seeing around the corner, identifying market transitions, and making big bets on what's next. And he's been right so often. If you go back to when he keynoted here in 1999 and you listen to that speech, he talked about things like the connected home. He saw the future. He's called it right almost every time. John's vision has helped Cisco grow from $70 million in 1990 to record revenues of $48.6 billion in fiscal year 2013. His insights into the Internet of Everything could be the most far-reaching yet. Along the way, John has been recognized among Time Magazine's 100 most influential people, one of the Barron's world's best CEOs, the best boss in America by 2020, and Businessweek's top 25 executives worldwide. John's philanthropic leadership has led to Cisco's global efforts to improve access to healthcare and education, and twice earned the U.S. State Department's top Corporate Social Responsibility Award, as well as the first Clinton Global Citizen Award, the Woodrow Wilson Award for Corporate Citizenship, and Excellence in Corporate Philanthropy Award, an award given by CEOs to their peers. It is my great pleasure to welcome to you, John Chambers.
Gary, thank you. Will do. You know, it's a pleasure to be back at CES. Over the years, I've watched how this organization has transformed and watched how, in many ways, this forum was a predecessor for what's about to occur in the industry. If we were to be candid, talking a year ago about the Internet of Things and what it meant to people, in talking to another CEO, I usually had to bring over a glass of wine and sit down and talk with him or her about what it really meant. Same thing with government leaders. But in the last 6 to 9 months, it was like somebody threw a light switch. All of a sudden, government leaders, business leaders around the world began to understand this was going to transform their country, transform job creation, transform education and healthcare. And businesses realize this is really going to be a moneymaker, and it's going to also enable me to interface to my customers, my employees, and others differently. But even though we talk about it as a one-year transition for the market, we started thinking about this 7 years ago with Smart Plus Connected Communities. What Will Melfrink has led for us, the ability to say, how will this transform smart cities for the future? But what we originally thought is if you just did connectivity, that would be the job. That doesn't work. You have to do connectivity. You have to get the right data to the right device at the right time to the right person or machine to be able to make the right decision. And that literally is what this is about today. And while we'll share some exciting numbers on connectivity and what it really means, it's about how it changes everyday people's lives. 4 years ago, we talked about what did this mean in terms of putting this over a smart grid, moving electricity around. And as you move electricity around, it was not just moving electricity, but move it like data, zeros and ones, and do it so you can move any data point around at the same time. As you think what's occurred 2.5 years ago is about connected industries and the transformation that has occurred. But what Gary said, what we do very well as a company, we listen to our customers, we get the market transitions that occur in the market, and we have the courage to bet on them ahead of time. It was a big bet to really bet on the future of the Internet of Things really evolving into a process change. But that bet is starting to pay off, and if we do it right, this will change the world in a very unique way and also give Cisco the opportunity to become the #1 IT player. A couple comments here, and I realize they're going to be controversial at the very beginning. 2014 will be the transformational pivotal point for the Internet of Everything. This is when it moves on Main Street. This is where the majority of cities, countries, business leaders around the world will get it. And you've seen all the results here over the last 2 days, and you're going to see it over the next 2. It's the visualization of it isn't just connecting a car or connecting a refrigerator or connecting a video capability to healthcare. It is the combination of these together that changes process and allows for different entertainment outcome and different business decision outcomes. We will look back 1 decade from today, and we'll look at how much the Internet had changed our lives since the inception to today. And you'll look at the impact of the Internet of Everything, and I predict to you that you will see it will be 5 to 10 times more impactful in 1 decade than the whole Internet to date has been. And as you begin to watch about the examples that we show you today, you'll begin to see why we believe this. Not just in terms of conception or theoretical approaches, but how you translate connectivity of devices to applications, to videos, to changing process that result in changing people's lives, government providing better services, and businesses changing and transforming themselves. And this is why one of the key concepts that I want to make sure we walk away with today, that as you begin to think about the Internet of Everything and how this is going to transform our lives, don't think about it just on connectivity, although we're going to give you some really cool data points on connectivity, number of devices, applications downloaded. Think about how you combine connectivity of things with change in process, with data, with people, to where you literally get the right information to the right device at the right time to the right person for them to make the right decision or the machine to make the right decision. And so what you saw from Sarah, I think will be the future. I think you're beginning to see this will impact every aspect of our lives. And we have a huge opportunity in front of us. But it takes having the courage to dream what's possible. And today we're going to bring on a number of examples where you will see not theoretical talking or talking in concepts, but the actual results we get in a city, the actual results you get in a digital home, what is really capable on bringing this to life for countries and directions. And as you go through this, your screens occasionally go down, so you walk back over here as though nothing happened. You didn't see that. And you pick up exactly where we started again. And so let's talk about what is possible today. What could we really do? Not 2 to 3 years ago from now, but what we could do today. Let's start with some very amazing statistics. And they're numbers that we've all heard various degrees of. When Cisco was formed in 1984, how many devices were there connected to the Internet? 1,000. You're good. You can see the monitor. And when you talk about mobile devices, smartphones, they're going to be more than the total population by 2015. But what really begins to get me excited is not that we're going to have 10 billion connections today of devices going to 50 billion, going to 500 billion. Because the way you used to measure the effectiveness of a network was the number of devices squared was its power. It's the applications that go on this that will change. 10 billion devices in 2014 will have 77 billion downloads of applications. And we're just taking small baby steps with only a small percentage of the world, 1%, really participating. But if you were to take away only one number from today, think 19 trillion. This is where I get the attention of CEOs, governments, business leaders. And I'll talk about the society changes, which are just important a little bit later. But over the last 2 years, we've done in-depth research, and I think you're going to find that actually we end up being conservative. First, on what the private sector could do by industry group. And as we did this, we found that the $14.4 trillion over the next 10 years would apply to almost every geography in the world and almost every country and theater in the world. It's going to occur uniformly across the world. It's not going to occur like many technology trends have in the past, perhaps starting in the US, going to Western Europe, Japan, and then spreading throughout. It's going to change with a different speed. But we just released today the section on the public sector, which again I think will be conservative. And it's $4.6 trillion of either new revenue generation opportunities, new savings, better services to the citizens of their countries. Think about those numbers and you realize what this means to the whole IT industry. Think about what it means in terms of common standards and direction as everything moves to the internet. And think that it won't be siloed killer applications, but multiple applications in smart cities connected, multiple applications in manufacturing companies connected, and everything you do in your home that Sarah gave us that teaser on actually occurring. That's why you saw Gary get excited about this a year ago and think about putting it in front page. But it's only in the last 6 months did that light switch go on. And so now you suddenly start to see elements of this with connected cars. You see elements of it with a digital home. You see elements of it with the density and the intensity of the screens. But it's really the ability to bring all this together that will cause this transition that will be bigger than anything that's ever been done in high tech to occur in a decade. And most of us agree, up to this point in time in high tech, what's been the major value we brought to society? It was the internet. And all of a sudden you look at the history of the internet and you say 5 to 10-fold that type of impact in a decade. A major aggressive statement. Now, let's back it up with some facts because it's very important to me we bring it down to business case with people understanding what we're trying to do and why. We're going to talk about smart cities, and we're going to have Barcelona come up in a little while and talk about it. But to give you an idea of the sizing of this, if you make decisions in silos and you think about what you could do with video capability to lower travel, it's a 15% saving. If you think about something I'll talk about in a moment in waste collection, you can have a 30% saving in your city. Smart lighting alone can reduce crime by 7%. Cameras in key locations reduces it by a lot more than that. By properly doing this together, you can increase public transportation occupancy by 50%. You can, just by smart metering alone, reduce the bill being paid by everyone in the world who has the meters by an average of $96 a year. You can, by doing true telecommuting, which is where the majority of our young people, which I'll talk about later, Generation Y, the millenniums, they believe you don't need an office anyhow. You can not only become dramatically more productive, you literally won't have to pay for the transportation costs and loss of the future. So 3 examples. The first one is an example of what occurred in the private sector and the ability for an area like retail to use this technology. Retail, out of the $19 trillion of savings, we estimate with a number of different applications, and there are well over 100 on the private sector alone in terms of key conceptual areas we're focused on, can have a potential return of $1.9 trillion. The ability to think about, $1.5 trillion. The ability to size this, what it means, it isn't just simple applications like out-of-shelf capability, which increases the average sales of a retail organization by 1% plus a year. It's the ability to really put together smart shopping carts, the ability to put Wi-Fi capability into that, the ability to combine flat panel displays and your ability to, with the capability to opt in and purely on an anonymous basis, watch as the person goes through the store, realize that's where they spend their time, helps them with a virtual concierge, if you will, and takes the power of all this coming together to completely transform their business. Now, retail is a lot more complex than clearly a social site. As you do this, one interaction on a social website is going to be replicated in terms of data density by a factor of 10 in the retail physical store. So your ability to handle this big data in a way that transforms their business becomes very key. And as you look at this, it will increase, in our opinion, and that would not surprise me to see it be conservative, by 10 to 15% the shopping basket that you walk out of that retail store with. To increase the productivities of the employee by 1 to 3%. To increase the out-of-shelf capacity inventory-wise, to increase your sales by another 1%. And these are just a couple applications that form this basis. It is those benefits that suddenly starts to think about every retailer, from a very small one to a very large one, a virtual to a physical one, or ones that do the combination of the two, to rethink what this really means to their industry and their direction. Garbage cans. If you would have told me I'd be sitting at CES and pumping you up about the excitement of connected garbage cans a year ago, I don't think so. Until I saw $10 billion. And all of a sudden, the way we do garbage collection and waste management today makes no sense whatsoever. You pay a given price, regardless of what's picked up. The majority of garbage that picks up isn't really needed to be picked up at a point in time. You put sensors into that, and you can restructure how you do garbage collection. You could almost do pay-as-you-throw-away type of scenarios. You could reduce literally the cost of waste management by over 30%. You could change the traffic patterns of your trucks as you go out, the productivities of your employees, etc. And you could all of a sudden, once you have the sensors there, you know where I'm going with this. You know how full the can is. You know if there are unique odors that need to get picked up for a different reason, even hazardous materials or something worse. And it's that ability to rethink what's occurring. And these are not theoretical approaches. This is what you're seeing in Barcelona, who the vice mayor will be with shortly, and in Nice, France. Street lighting. 70% of the world's energy is used up in cities. Using Europe as an example, there's $13 billion a year spent on street lighting. That's 40% of the total government energy bills in Europe. By using networking technology, connecting these various street lights, you could all of a sudden reduce by 70 to 80% the actual energy cost involved by just dimming it. And then when there's motion, bringing it back up. Now, this is where things come together to tell a story so much more powerfully. Once you put this, i.e. internet streetlights in place, you could suddenly use that same streetlight as a plug-in station for electronic vehicles on a charge basis. You could put Wi-Fi capability there to service an underserved area. You do maintenance entirely different of the streetlights and things that go with it, and you dramatically reduce crime. And this is where that flywheel effect of not individual killer applications, but an architectural play for the city suddenly starts to take place. The key element here, this is not about technology at all. This is really about how it changes people's lives, how it affects us, how it changes business models forever. And those are just 3 out of hundreds of examples I could have done today. And so you begin to see the one number I want you to walk away with, $19 trillion. Not only is it doable, it will require changes in all of us. And let's talk about from the IT professional's perspective. IT, as it enables, whether you're a large company, a government, a small company, or a provider in general, it enables us to deliver on this, but it's going to have to change dramatically. It's going to be a new kind of IT. It's going to, first of all, have to be very simple to use. Secondly, it's going to be dramatically faster than what we've seen before. And speed, instead of doing new services to customers that might take 18 to 24 months to develop in the past, need to do it in 1 week. You need to be able to completely rethink how you use your labor pool, to really focus on where you add differentiation, to be able to do this in a way that dramatically changes your services to customers, and we'll show you that in a moment. It's got to be secure, and it's got to have privacy. And the ability to do this not with simple individual products or individual firewalls, but with an architectural play is most important. And what I just described, whether it's a retail store, whether it's a city, whether it's a country, requires literally a seamless integration of the ability to share this data so you can interface to Sarah in a way we just described, in a way that she expects, getting her the right information to make the decision at the right point in time. When it works, and this new IT really is effective, streetlights prevent crime. Our clothing tells us when we've got a fever or we need to see a doctor. Factories really react real time to changes in markets. And cities will react to literally changing weather patterns as they occur or challenges occur, which we will talk about a little bit later as well. Smart cities, it's going to make a huge difference in our lives. And a year from now, and I'll talk about this in the closing, it will be about smart countries. But it's the ability to realize that the majority of the population will move from 50% today in the cities to over 60%, almost 2/3. And technology can really enable this in a very unique way, or it can prevent us from achieving our potential in terms of standard of living and direction. As you think about what this is going to occur, let me use an example for you. When I originally heard about smart parking, I said, that's kind of a cool application. I think it will apply to certain cities or maybe in real busy companies. And then I began to realize that parking in cities is one of, if not their top revenue producer. And in cities, inavailability of parking spots or the ability to find that contributes to 30% of the load on their highways. In other words, traffic jams. And if you watch what is suddenly occurring, it's the ability to change this dramatically, and we will talk about what, again, Barcelona and Nice, France have been able to do. But what's of interest to me is the number. It's $41 billion opportunity. It suddenly will allow you to real-time availability of what's available, to be able to charge different based on demand, to be able to issue tickets if people overstayed the time that they've done, and demand-based pricing. Now let's look at communities that are really doing this and think what I talked about earlier, not in individual, quote, killer applications, but how it comes together to resolve the opportunities and the potential of smart communities. Roll the video, please.
As the world continues to urbanize, with 180,000 people a day moving into cities, the competition between cities will continue to grow economically, environmentally, and even socially. The cities that embrace technology will surface as the winners.
Cisco is extremely excited about Barcelona because the city is utilizing the Internet of Everything. By connecting its people and things to a city Wi-Fi, Barcelona is creating new services, richer experiences, and unprecedented economic opportunity for its people, for its businesses, and for its partners.
Barcelona is a social dream, and technology is able to make this social dream possible. What we're trying to put in place is a common solution for all the cities of the world.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome on stage the Vice Mayor of Barcelona, Mr. Toni Vives. Tony, if you come out and join us. Tony, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
For those of you who may not be as familiar with Barcelona, other than a great place to visit, it is one of the few cities in all of Europe that is running a surplus. It is the example of innovation when other cities and other mayors talk around the world on what can be done. You all were able, Tony, to grasp what it really means to really transform a smart city. How long have you been working on it, and what are some of the key areas that people in this room would get excited about?
Well, the first thing I want to say is thank you for hosting us here. Mm-hmm. I have to ask you for a couple of favors before we start.
The fact that 5,000 people are watching, whatever you need, you've got.
Yeah. Okay. First thing is we have elections in 1 year time. I want a copy of that video. I love it.
Okay.
And the second thing, I want some of your pictures because my wife didn't believe me when I told her that I was coming to Las Vegas to talk about Internet of Things. So
there are some unique activities that go on in Vegas, and the Internet of Things might get imagination going.
So we've been working on the concept for a while now because we were obsessed with the quality of life of our people, and we have to cope with it.
Yes.
So we went through several issues, such as, for example, smart water, and we are saving $58 million on that.
This is $58 million a year.
Yeah, a year, you're right. We are working very hard on lighting, and we are saving in a year a third of our invoice, which is around $37 million. We have increased our revenue in our parking management. We own, let's say, we concession, but we own the parking slots in Barcelona, and we have increased in a year roughly a third also of our revenues, which is about $50 million also, which is quite a lot for us. We are not a big city, but we try to be very performant. But what's more important for us is jobs, job creation. And in 6-7 year time, we have generated 47,000 jobs related to smart cities right in the city of Barcelona, which is also a lot. The city of Barcelona, even though the metropolitan area is 3.5 million, 4 million people, the city, the exact city of Barcelona is only 1.7 million. Within that small city, we have generated 47,000 jobs in 6 years' time, which is, I think, quite a lot. We're good at that, I think.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It wasn't until I asked Tony when we talked in Barcelona, and I've been coming there for 4 to 5 years now, watching how you all transform the city. And you would first talk about what it means to your citizens. And when you talk to the citizens, they really don't understand the technology behind it. How do you get your citizens excited about this and what it really means? And maybe could you share a story or an example?
I always talk about my mother because she never understood. She thought that I was a writer, and then she thought, well, you are a politician, but what you say, I don't understand you. I vote you because you are my son. But she wears one of these devices where we have deployed what we call teleassistance. Is that a word in English? It's teleassistance for the elderly. And she looked very, very nice. I mean, she was happy. And she's about her 70s. And I told her, you look very well, Mom. And you look as if you were 60. And she was happy when I said that, which is true. And she said to me, you know, since I have this thing hanging on my neck, she pushes a button, and she's alone, and she's got a problem. She has her social services at home with her history. And she said, oh, since I have that button in here, I feel much better, I feel safer. I told her, yeah, that's good. But you know, Mom, that's because of what's explained about technology. And she stared at me and said, what? Yes, Mom, technology. What is technology? She asked me. So in a way, technology was transparent for her. And I think that's the main goal that we have achieved in our city, making people understand that quality of life is related to what you, people, in this case Cisco, and us, civic servants, can deliver to our citizenship, which is better services. And technology is going to make it, even though people don't recognize it. That's the main goal. That's what we have achieved.
When you talk around the world, first, how many cities and mayors do you talk with, and how many people visit you, and what did they ask you, and what do you say, here's where we're going?
We get 180 official visits per year in Barcelona, which means mayors, which means that once every 2 days, I got a mayor in my office. And they come in Barcelona and ask us, how did you do that? And I always say that we have built a community. And we have built a community based on that social dream I was talking about in the video. And we have built a community based on services. And we have built a community making sure that you companies understood that it is not just about making money. It is about making a lot of money, you and us. But it's a kind of generating a convergence between you and us.
And it's a transformation for both sides. From the government leader side, you're often looking at business. They're trying to sell you something. And from the business side, we're looking at how can we assist in your goals, but where is the win-win? And you were able to transform that. We were able to focus on outcomes together.
But you have understood something, at least Cisco has understood something in our case. We saw that we had a problem. Big companies have this problem also. We were building our organization through silos.
Yes.
And we started to break it. And Internet of Everything is helping us out. Backwards and in the front line. Backwards, how? I'm responsible for housing, urbanism, environment, and information technologies and communications. And we needed something to become our backbone. And Internet of Everything has become the backbone of that. You've seen examples in the video. We have a lightning pole there in which you have lights, and we have devices that count people, and we have a device that understands the level of pollution that we have in the city and recognizes the number of empty slots that we have from the parking perspective. That in a single pole. That's the future for a city. And you guys have to understand that there we have the winning scenario. Otherwise, we would be broke. On the other hand, in the front line, my mother understands that there's something coming towards her that she didn't have before that improves her daily life. And this is something, people don't vote us because we are good managers, because we are, no, people vote us because we have visions, and you help us out to implement them. That's why we are so keen on working with you, and we think that we can help you a lot, to define the kind of products that you have to develop.
Tony, it's an honor being your partner. It's also when you want to see not just a well-run city, think about Southern Europe, think about the economic challenges, and yet you have a city that is so progressive, so innovative, running a surplus and changing the lives of their citizens, one of the most competitive cities in the world, and then willing to spend the time to help others. Tony, it's an honor being your friend and your business partner.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
I get excited talking about businesses and how this transforms businesses. And now what you're seeing is the ability to transform cities with the applications coming together, the convergence in a seamless fashion. Now let's bring it closer to home and literally think about the home of the future, the digital home. When you think about where this goes, it will change everything. And understand that the Generation Yers who are growing up today, they expect a screen as their primary interface. They begin to think about their home having different capabilities. They check their smartphone every night right before they go to bed and first thing they get up in the morning. That's probably the only Generation Y issue that I imagine maps one for what I do. But they also think about it differently. They don't think about an office as a physical place to go. They actually view they can do their job very effectively, work hard, play hard, and they expect access to information which allows them to make their personal, their social, their entertainment, or their business decisions in a way that we have to rethink how the home is connected. This is the first generation that literally, in many ways, has grown up with a screen in every aspect of their lives. Let me roll the video, if we will, to kind of introduce the concept and where we see this going. So if you begin to think about this, you begin to think about what can occur in the home and the ability to toss this video to any screen as you move forward. It will change our lives. And it's a whole approach on just-in-time, done differently for every aspect of our lives. Just-in-time data, to just-in-time arrival at a location, to just-in-time to the right device, to just-in-time to the right person, to allow them to make the right decision. And while that's easy to say, much like the demos that we talked about before, it's the ability to do this with the Internet of Everything that makes the stunning differences that we've talked about. Service providers will be a huge partner in this in terms of going forward. And there are a number of service providers who are making major inroads in this area, but in my opinion, one of the very most progressive and the one that's seen the most success in many areas is AT&T. They literally have looked at how they do this seamlessly. They thought out a box and had the courage to start this over 3 years ago. So it's my pleasure to welcome Ralph De La Vega, President and CEO of AT&T Mobility, out on stage. Ralph, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. How are you? Great, how are you?
Good. You know, last year when we were together at CES and we talked about where you're going with this, you all have accomplished so much in such a short time period.
It's really amazing. It's just a year ago you were on the stage with me at our developer summit, right? And we were just announcing it.
Now, without being modest, talk about what's been the acceptance, what you're doing, and what has been the consumer acceptance, and how are you doing versus your own expectations?
We love what's happening with the Digital Life project that we have launched in now 59 markets, and it's the first all-IP, all-digital, UL-approved home security and automation service that is designed from the ground up to work with smartphones and tablets.
Yes.
And all that has happened is the Net Promoter Score, which is how we measure customer satisfaction, for all the installations we've done over the past year are double the industry average for the alarm industry in this country.
So basically you take a application, maybe a killer application, maybe just the foundation for all the other applications, and you're twice what all your peers have been able to do.
Absolutely, and the thing about this application that is, it's so easy to use.
Yes.
That I want to give you an example so the audience can get what this Internet of Everything causes people to change.
Okay.
We had a customer in the first time we rolled this out that had a crime problem in a neighborhood. They were having packages that were getting delivered for the Christmas holiday season and deposited in porches, stolen.
Yes.
Our customer decided to point the camera, which has a motion detector in it, to the package, use their smartphone to program it to say, if you detect motion, send me a picture to my smartphone so that I know that somebody's taken the package, and then plant a fake package. Don't try this at home, by the way. So guess what happened? A few hours later, the package was picked up, the camera took the picture, sent it to the customer called the police, and they nabbed that burglar 30 minutes later. That's digital life.
And it's an application we can all understand, but take us the next step. You all made some key announcements with the automotive industry and the connectivity, to where really this generation-wise office is their home, is their automobile, your ability to transfer entertainment, transfer to any screen, literally almost with gestures, and it's going to take us way beyond just basic lighting and security. Tell me where this goes.
We're so pleased with what's happening with the connected car, especially at CES. We announced just yesterday that we're running a new platform called AT&T Drive for connected cars.
Yes.
And the vision that we have is when you get in that car and that car gets you home, the car talks to the house, and it does whatever you want it to do in the house. And what I love about it is, not only did we announce that Monday, we also announced that we have signed deals with Chevrolet, with Audi, and Tesla to connect all of their cars. So I think this is a great thing for the future of the country, to be able to have that Internet of Everything where the house is connected to the car and to anything that you want it to be connected to.
You know, it's fascinating watching, because my industry, our own company, and many of our peers tended to think about just connectivity. And I'd argue many service providers did. But you really have transformed what you focus on with this in terms of really delighting your customers, making it simple and easy to use. How did you do that? And what did you do differently to make that happen?
We have changed. For example, to give you a great example of this, all of the stores that we have been redesigned. And it's one of the reasons we won the J.D. Power Award for customer service in retail and customer service as well. We're focusing not on selling phones or selling gadgets. We're selling experiences to customers. Outcomes.
Yes.
How to make their homes more secure, how to lead a healthier life, how to get more connected to the music that's important to you. And by selling solutions, it helps us to solve the problems that customers have.
And what role does Cisco play with this?
You guys have been great from the beginning. I mean, what I love about this, and I really mean it, we plowed.
I'm glad you said that. I realized I hadn't prompted you on that.
I mean, it is amazing the help that you've got, because we're blazing trails here, folks. Designing that first all digital, all wireless home security system is something that, quite frankly, even UL had never seen before. So you work with us, and we had some rough spots, but we can always count on you and your team. When we needed you, you were there. And it's been the key to us being able to launch this in 59 markets in the US. And we're getting all kinds of interest from international carriers wanting us to license this technology now to them, which of course we're planning to do.
So when you really talk about a new form of IT and the definitions I talked about earlier, and what the top IT players, and our goal was clearly to use the Internet of Everything to become the top IT player does, you have to think about making it simple. You have to think about making it secure. You've got to do your services very, very fast. It's got to be seamless so you can go across not just moving video to any screen, but the ability to combine security with video, with mobility in a very unique way. And then you've got to make it intelligent throughout. It's an honor being your partner here.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for your great support.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the partnership.
All righty, bye-bye.
Now, we also understand that video is clearly the killer application at home. And talking about where this is going, you've seen a lot of announcements here at CES on where the TV industry is going, where the screens are going, et cetera. I'd like to, at this time, take a step back and really talk about what we see occurring in this industry and invite our Chief Demonstration Officer, Jim Grubb, up on the stage, really to bring this to life for us. Jim, it's good to see you, buddy.
Hi, John.
How you doing?
Good evening. Good to see you.
Good. So we made some announcements here at CES, and
That's
if
right.
you will, kind of work those into where we're headed. But let's also talk, where do you see the industry going, and how do many of the things we talked about today actually not only converge together, but converge relatively seamlessly together?
Right. Well, to do that, John, we're going to show how, video will be one of the key ways that we interact with the Internet of Everything, the Internet of Things. So we're going to show our latest Videoscape release that we announced yesterday. It's called Snowflake 14.
And Videoscape is our capability to deliver this from a cloud.
That's right.
And really make video usable in ways that it wasn't before.
That's right. We've got it running on this beautiful new Samsung Ultra HD TV over here. And I'm going to control it from my mobile device.
It's amazing resolution.
So you're seeing the Videoscape user experience here, and in the middle here, you see the first 9 channels of my channel lineup. So I can scroll through these. You'll notice it's all of the channels are live continuously. If I want to go to the next 9 channels, I just pinch on my mobile device here, so I can scroll through all the live channels. I can also take a look at the on-demand content that's available through the store. So if I scroll over here, we're looking at content that's available in the store. If I scroll over to the left here, you'll see my library. So this is any DVR content that I've recorded.
So these channels are live all at one time. You literally can mix and match whatever you want to do, and I can just imagine where you're going to go next.
That's right. And it's really a 3D experience here. So for example, if I just click on HBO here, we'll be able to take a look at the HBO portal. So now what I'm seeing is all of the on-demand content that's available for HBO. I can just pinch to look at the different episodes, for example, here, Boardwalk Empire. And that's what we call the portal capability. I also want to show you, though, the timeline. And so what I'm going to do here is we'll go ahead and watch this HBO clip here, this movie. And then I'll swipe sideways on the mobile device. And what you're seeing now is a timeline. So rather than having to individually DVR anything, actually everything is being DVR'd in real time. Some of our customers that have deployed this have implemented 7 days of previous television on 400 channels. So here's live HBO. If I just swipe this direction, I see the start of the program that was just on, and I can keep swiping back to see the programs that have previously been on, and I can even swipe forward to see promos for programs that haven't even been on yet. Now, as you mentioned, John, this is available through the cloud, and we offer to our service provider customers either for private clouds, public clouds, or to be implemented simply as a service that they buy directly from Cisco. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to deploy new capabilities because this is a cloud-based service. So we're going to step up to our management console
here. So you're really
here.
talking about the ability to combine a whole bunch of screens. I can literally have chat sessions with families. We can watch a common sporting event together. We can watch movies together. We'll be able to interface off of our iPads into this and interact in ways that we've just not thought about before.
That's right.
For the service providers, this is new revenue opportunities. For the consumers, it's a different experience in terms of the capability and the ability to suddenly deliver these services not in 6 or 12 or 18 months, but literally almost interactively.
With just
what
a
you're
few
talking
mouse
about.
clicks, exactly, yeah. So, for example, these are my packages. We've got the premium and the standard and the value package. And I'm going to take a look over here. For example, let's choose the Map Your Movie feature. I'm going to add this as a service, and we'll make it a premium service.
So
I'll
as
set
we're
that
watching
to the
a
bundle.
movie there, basically you're able to see where it occurred, like some of the movies I like here in Vegas.
That's
like,
right.
I'll be careful which ones I
Yeah,
mention.
okay. All right. And I'm also going to pull over the home automation cinema mode. So we'll put that in the standard and the premium. And then we'll set the bundle, and then we'll go ahead and we'll deploy that. So with just a few mouse clicks, we've added new features to these packages that we can then offer our customers. Now let's go back over, John, and take a look at a couple of the features that we just added. Some of the advanced capabilities of Snowflake.
So Snowflake is really a user interface which allows tremendous flexibility and speed of services delivery.
That's right. And by the way,
and dramatically lower operating costs.
That's
so
right.
So think about service providers not just for revenue generation, but 70 to 80% of their expenses as operating expenses, which we're now focused on. How do we get those down so both their customers benefit and they benefit as well?
That's right. Now, using any mobile device, and we support all of the mobile operating systems, we can do things like rotate the device, and then the program guide now becomes available on the device here. So, for example, if I wanted to change the channel, I can just touch one of these channels. I can drag it up to my TV. I get a little preview, and I can let go, and it changes the channel. Let's show you some of the other more advanced features, though, that you get when you have profiles. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to scroll up here, and we're going to scroll to my profile, for example. So we'll go over here, and we'll log in with my profile. All right, and now when I scroll down, you'll notice that the channels now are the channels that I watch the most.
Yes.
So here's my James Bond movie.
Channels,
that's right, that's right.
Yes.
So if I click here to watch that James Bond movie, for example, bring it full screen, I want to show you a couple of the advanced features. So for example, let me just click here, and I'm going to click on shopping mode. And when I do that, I get a notice on my mobile device to rotate the device. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And when I rotate it, I get synchronized video, but it shows tags, for example, with the clothing that the people are wearing. So I might be able to interact and purchase those things.
So almost the other extreme to what Sarah did earlier in the demo, the ability to basically see something we like, pick it out.
That's right, exactly. So I can run through the timeline of the movie, and maybe there's this sports car here, for example, that I might want to purchase, and
I love it when you spend money.
I can just click on it, and it even shows me a map of where to buy it in the area here.
And probably the service provider gets a lead, and
absolutely. I will need a raise, though, John, if I'm going to buy this car. So
depends on how the demo continues to go, John.
All right. So let's show you a couple of other features. All right. I'm going to go back up, and this time we're going to scroll in. We're going to log into your profile, John.
Okay, now this is very dangerous, Jim.
So, this is we're just going to see your favorite movies and things like that. So I'll scroll over, and we'll go ahead and choose you here. And we're going to start to show you, oh, look, that's one of your favorites right there.
The Hangover.
The Hangover movie, yeah. Filmed right here in Vegas, as a matter of fact. So if we watch that movie, let me go ahead and double click on it. And I'm going to show you an advanced feature called Map the Movie. So this is where we start to bring the geocoding of the location where this movie was shot into a map that the user can experience. So let me just scroll over to Map Your Movie, and we'll just click on that. And now again, I get a message to rotate my iPad here, and I'll go ahead and rotate it. And we get a 3D map, and you'll notice that these are the clips of the movie placed in 3D along the strip here where they were shot. And if I want to watch that clip, I can just click on it, and it automatically brings it onto my television set. So very interesting 3D mapping capability. Now, as we talked about interacting with the Internet of Everything, and here at the show, there's a lot of home automation. Well, we have some internet-connected lights and a thermostat and a home entertainment system and the locks in the house here. Well, maybe as you're getting ready to settle down and watch your movie, you want to control all of those things at once. So what I'm going to do is just scroll down here to Set, and we'll set cinema mode. So when I click here, you'll see that the AV receiver changes into a cinema mode. The lights will dim, the thermostat might adjust the temperature in the home, and even the doors get locked, so I'm ready to go to my movie.
So the real power is really the connectivity of them all, not being connected, but it's the ability to produce outcomes or results or entertainment together.
That's right. That's our demonstration for today, John.
Jim, excellent job. You brought it home for me. Thank you. Making this happen for each of us as humans and to bring this to life for the everyday person is so important to both us as a company and I think to our industry and the global opportunities. The ability to take a concept like big data, or the ability to think about what this means in terms of how the Internet of Everything comes across, is truly a tough art. And yet one of the best phenomenal storytellers I've ever met is Rick Smallman. And if you watch what Rick has been able to do as a photographer at Time, at Life, at National Geographic, and you probably know Rick from the Day in the Life series that he did, he takes very complex topics and is able to bring them down in a way through photographs, through storytelling, in a way that we can grasp. It's a tremendous honor today to invite Rick out on stage. Rick, if you would join us, we've known each other for a number of years. You bring this to life. So how do you take a complex topic like this, like big data, and make it easy for people to understand, and yet also practical to how it's going to change their lives?
This Human Face of Big Data project was by far the most challenging we've ever done. We sent 100 photographers around the world and over a 2-month period to try to capture this.
Yes.
And I've been trying to explain to people what big data is myself, trying to understand it. And my 11-year-old walked into the kitchen one night when I was working late at night and said, Dad, you keep saying big data on the phone. What does that mean? And I'm struggling, 2 in the morning, like, how do you explain this to an 11-year-old? And I said, just imagine if you've been looking at the world through one eye your entire life, and scientists invented a way for you to open up a second eye. What you're getting is not more data, not more vision. You're getting a different dimension. And he thought about this for a second. He said, Dad, so would scientists let me open up a third eye and a fourth and 1,000 eyes? If you're 11 years old, 1,000 eyes is very cool.
Yes.
And I said, that's exactly what's happening. For the first time in human history, we've all become human sensors. Our smartphones, our jawbone devices, our credit card transactions, our Google searches. We're getting a 3-dimensional matrix. It's like watching the planet develop a nervous system.
Yes.
And you can see the spark go off in his eyes when he heard that.
So you described it in a way that even an 11-year-old, or perhaps the 11-year-old, because he's got more imagination, can understand when you suddenly get this input from so many different sources, it changes everything you do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things happening right now is that we discovered that the average person in Las Vegas or Tokyo or New York City in one day is now being exposed to as much information in one day as our ancestors in the 15th century were exposed to an entire lifetime. One day. It's a straight vertical line.
So what a baby occurs in the first day of a baby's life is more than prior generations saw in their lifetime.
We actually discovered another statistic I thought was amazing, that in the first day of a baby's life, the human race is generating 70 times the amount of information contained in the Library of Congress. Again, another straight vertical line. We've never been able to affordably collect this data, to sense the planet the way we're doing now, and be able to make meaning of it and use it in ways to change our behavior.
You know, when I listen to you, and you are a great storyteller, and I suddenly times want to almost open up my notebook and take notes as we go. What I found so impactful is how you took an example like the terrible earthquake that occurred in Japan, and how that country prepared for it ahead of time, and it could have been much worse if they hadn't done this, but then how you take it to the next step, and how you take a very expensive project and all of a sudden say, here's how you can replicate it by literally connecting devices with the right information to get the outcomes you want.
This is a fascinating story. When this terrible earthquake happened in Japan, we all heard about it, we saw it on TV. But one of the statistics that I heard in very few places, it was actually on Kai Risdale's program on NPR and Marketplace.
Yes.
He said that 15 seconds before the earthquake occurred, every bullet train, every factory in Japan was brought to a halt. The Japanese had spent $500 million over 15 years since the Kobe earthquake installing a dedicated, hardwired, very expensive system that saved tremendous numbers of lives. But then I heard an even more fascinating story, which is that a group of entrepreneurs in Palo Alto, one day were looking at their computers, their laptops, and they said, every laptop has an accelerometer in it. So if your kids are running through the kitchen and they trip over the cord and your computer's on the way to the floor, it knows it's falling. It lifts the head. So your computer knows it's falling because of the accelerometer. It lifts the head off the platter to try to save your data. They said, what if we utilize that same sensor? When people go to bed at night, all of our computers are plugged into the internet, just run our program QuakeCatcher, and now you have a ubiquitous, crowdsourced, completely free global early earthquake warning system. And people just doing it to help each other. There's no financial foundation to it.
It's interesting to watch. Rick, where can people go to learn more about this? And maybe we can also comment that underneath each one of the chairs, there's a copy of your big data book.
Well, actually, we decided to put them at the door. So as people leave, there's a copy of our book, The Human Face of Big Data, which I know a lot of times when you guys come to conferences, you leave half of the stuff that people give you in your hotel room.
95% of.
This is a book that your kids and your spouses will love because it makes it very, very understandable. But 2 other things. One is, thanks to Cisco, we actually created an iPad app, The Human Face a Big Data iPad app.
Yes.
And it won the Webby for Best Educational App of the Year. And we've made it free for the month of January to all of you and anybody watching online. And then finally, when you take this book home, those of you that know the Harry Potter movies,
yes.
And in the newspaper you can actually talk to the people, and there's a still photograph, but it's like a video. Yes. So this is the world's first internet-enabled book. So there's 20 places in the book where you can point your smartphone or your tablet, and the person in the photograph turns around and talks to you. There's a free app on the back of the book that tells you how to download it. And it's really fun. And I think that we needed to have microprocessors to build computers, computers to build the internet. This new world of internet-connected devices is going to have a much bigger effect than the internet by itself. And I agree with you. I think 2014 is the year we're all going to look back on saying that's the year everything started to change.
Rick, it's a pleasure. Thanks, you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing the human aspect to it.
I love it. Thank you.
It is a honor.
Take care.
Great job.
Thank you, guys.
When you think about what we've talked about today, if there are only a couple key takeaways, really take a step back as you leave this session and imagine what is possible. And remember where you were a year ago and how fast things have changed in this 1 year. When you think about how this is going to change things, don't think about it in terms of connectivity. Think about how people with data will make better decisions. And the ability for IT to suddenly think in terms of simplicity and speed and security and seamlessness, and the ability to do it very smart. It's almost a flywheel effect, whether you listen to Ralph or Tony or Rick or Sarah as well, that as you do these applications and you tie them together, the power is much more each time you add others to it, but it requires an architectural approach to it. This will be the inflection point, as Rick said, in 2014. It will result in looking back 10 years from now that the impact of the internet from the time of its inception to today, the Internet of Everything will have 5 to 10 times that impact. If I've done my job right today along with my guests, you begin to see why we see this inflection point occurring, and you begin to see us put real meat and substance behind it, and what we have to do differently to be able to achieve this. You'll see Cisco, if we do our job right, catapult this capability to truly partner around the world, but become the #1 IT company, which I believe we're going to do. You'll see us continue to make investments in this area in a $100 million investment fund, going into startups that help bring these ideas of the Internet of Everything to life. You'll see us put innovation centers around the world with the first 4 locations being in Germany, in Rio, in Toronto, and in Songdo in Korea. The ability to, in these innovation centers, show what is possible to the citizens, to the governments, to the business in that part of the world. The next frontier that we'll probably talk about a year from now will be around healthcare. And to just give you an idea, healthcare has never had productivity increases in my lifetime. And yet imagine what occurred in Shenzhen, China, with the terrible earthquake that occurred there in 2008. And what they did is they took a disaster and suddenly realized it brought their whole healthcare system to its knees. Fast forward to today, partnering very tightly with Cisco and with investments from our side in a big way, you suddenly have completely transformed healthcare for the whole Sichuan province. You suddenly, instead of people in the remote locations never seeing a doctor in their lifetime, they have access to over 66 organizations helping them with their health care, 32 smart hospitals, mobile clinics, and telehealth networks. The ability suddenly for a person that couldn't see a doctor 5 years ago to be able to see the best specialist anywhere in China and around the world. And it's about how do you combine many of the concepts today that we talked about to really get the outcomes that you want for the citizens. Today, we've only talked about a small sliver, if you will, of the possibilities. I want you to think about, as you leave, how do you take many of the technology concepts that are being talked about in this conference, such as the Internet of Everything, cloud, mobility, big data, how it changes lives, and think what is next. And think again, not how fast has it moved in the last year, but how fast has it moved since we did the first hosting of the Internet of Things Global Forum in Barcelona, just in October this year. And when you think what will be the topic for this time next year, I can tell you already what it's going to be. It's going to be about digital countries, the ability of a country to completely transform itself And Israel will probably be the best example of it, where you have one of the most advanced technology countries in the world, the most independent in many, many ways. And when they began to look at their key opportunities and challenges facing the country, such as job creation, economic increases, the ability to include the majority of the Arab population, which is 20% of their population, in high tech, the ability to completely transform healthcare and education, and an innovation cycle for the #2 startup country in the world in terms of new IPOs. And they literally are aligning with Cisco in almost every single move they make. It's our ability to transform citizens' lives, business lives, and global competitiveness, and our focus on becoming much more outcome-focused with our partners and with our key customers. But you want to think about this being perhaps, I've always talked about the internet education being the great global equalizers. This is going to take this to a whole new generation. It will affect everyone's life in the world. It will affect the economies of countries, the job creation, and even Sarah. I want to thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. Thank you very much.